Yes, people, it's LokiMan07 back with another YouTube video, and in this video I want to talk about Soul Hackers 2, um, the video game by Atlas. As you all know, I've been going pretty ham on every Atlas game I play, and I thought I would have a little discussion about Soul Hackers 2 and get that out of the way before I get into the other things I want to talk about on this channel. But in this video I want to talk about the great mystery that is Ringo. Okay, Ringo is like a synthetic being, right, created by an artificial intelligence called Aeon. That's what the game's all about. She's here to save the world, but certain things don't make sense. For example, she can eat, she can sleep, and I think she takes a shit, which is a bit weird for a synthetic life form. And then throughout the game, people inquire, Ringo, what are you? Like, you're supposed to be like a cyborg, or you what? And she's not one. But she can't give an answer as to what she is at all. Not a straight answer. She can't say, "Oh, I'm made from this and this and this," or, you know, I'm some kind of clone given AI, like, you know, some kind of mind simulation or something. There's nothing. She doesn't even know herself. Well, I'm about to tell you how Ringo came into being, and even though the game, when it speaks directly, doesn't tell you what's going on, everything else is telling you what's going on, and it's written in code, right? Geometric shapes. It's really interesting. Say for example you got the video game Persona. A lot of the game is given to you through numbers and arcana, right? Like, what are the characters doing? You can decode that shit. And then you've got something like SMT3 Nocturne, right, where it's just literally the gods, right? The gods are the principle. If you know the gods, then you will know the principle. And in Persona, if you know the numbers, you will know the principle. In this game, it's geometric shapes, and I'm gonna blow your mind. Okay, first of all, let me explain to you that Ringo herself represents the mother goddess. Okay, Ringo represents the mother goddess, right, on the right hand side, and Fig represents the mother goddess on the left hand side. Okay, so Ringo is curiosity and optimism. Fig is wisdom and nihilism, we'll call it that, right? And the game is very clear with this, and everything that happens in the game. Look, we're gonna go into that stuff right now, who Fig is, who Ringo is, and it all make sense. Okay, check this out. Okay, so people, Ringo, Ringo, Ringo is Japanese, and it means apple. She represents any goddess that is to do with the creation of human intelligence being brought down to mankind, or being siphoned through mankind. So of course Eve at the apple of intelligence, knowledge, okay, higher thought, and thus changed the brain patterns of all her offspring, creating the human race as we know it. All right, this ability to think like this, to decipher, is attributed to the character Eve and her curiosity. Okay, so Ringo, the curious one, the one that wants to see what is going on the planet, is taking a bite of the apple of worldly knowledge. And then you have Fig, right? Fig is of course Ringo's shadow, in both metaphorically and in character design. Why would her name be Fig? When Eve ate the apple, right, her personality changed. Her shadow self came. This is the one that lied to God, right? That's what Fig represents. Why would her name be Fig? Like I said, it's because when Eve bit this apple, the first thing that happened to mankind was sorry, what happened to Adam and Eve was they looked upon themselves and they felt shame. Shame is a higher emotion. Fig represents emotions, right? So Adam and Eve covered themselves with figs. This is how God caught them, all right? So Fig from the start represents the naughty aspect. If Ringo is Eve, then Fig is her shadow self, Lilith. And the game is very clear with this. I'm going to break that down because I already have a video about Lilith and about an owl. Check out my Maleficent video. Alright, let's get into this. Now people, I'm going to go over the intro of this game and show you some amazing symbology. Symbology and geometric shapes, just like words and numbers, have specific meaning, and they're linked to the word, to their number, you get me, and words that follow them. So same thing like I did with Persona when I went over the Arcana. I'm going to go over geometric shapes in this game and then numbers, why they are showing you these numbers. So at the beginning of the game you get the creation of Ringo, and it's not like a manufactured robot. It's the principle of consciousness coming into a being, right? Literally. And there's some subtle things done. You actually hear Ringo's consciousness in the astral world just for a split second before it gets to the physical world and becomes bound, right? So she's just playing in the imagination world. It's done really well. You get two specific symbols and numbers, right? And I'll go over them right now. So first of all, the first thing you see is a triangle with a hexagram or sexagram in the middle.
Ringo.
I hope you paid attention to that. Now let's go through this in some super slow motion. Alright. First of all, you get in a bunch of triangles, but within those triangles is three other triangles, like the Triforce from the Legend of Zelda, right? So you have these triangles going upwards and triangles going downwards. Then we get the triangle with the six-pointed star, a sexagram or a hexagram in the middle, and it's coming at you, and it starts to get faster and faster till it's pounding at the screen. Oddly enough, I hope you got your maturity hat on. This represents a sexual act, right? This represents the act of creation, sex, sexagram, right? And this is explaining exactly how Ringo came into being, right? Because Ringo wasn't constructed. Ringo was summoned by using a hex or a summoning, right? Thus a hexagram or a sexagram. Then, as these points, 12 points, start to bind towards Ringo, but as this binding is happening, you can hear Ringo and Fig with like childlike voices, you know, running around in the astral plane. All you can hear is, where's Fig, where's Ringo? If you pay attention, I just played it, go back and listen, right? They're two childlike voices, And then once these 12 points bind with Ringo, Ringo is now bound to time. Why do we know that it's bound to time? The symbol of 12. The symbol of 12 represents the circle of the zodiac. Not only that, the imagery is like Ringo is in the middle of the web, the center of the void, right? And you would think if she's a robot, she's an android or what have you, where is the construction aspect of this whole thing, right? There is none. Okay, like I said, she has been summoned, okay, literally summoned like a demon in this game. When you see them come into being, they're all standing at the crossroads. In this game there's a crossroads and it kind of looks digital, and you'll see them Fig and Ringo standing in this crossroads, right? It's it's where you go to search the memories of your party members, okay? This crossroad is linked to the underworld and the subconscious. Like all the things I say in my video is just put to you in art in this game, okay? Now people, all that a sexogram means is the number 6. It represents the number 6 and the act of bringing something into being, right? So 3, half of 6 is 3. This is the triangle that represents a completion of something, right? So if you take the triangle facing up, that is supposed to be masculine, right? And then if you have the triangle facing down, that is supposed to be the feminine, right? Now if you smash them two things together, you get a 6-pointed star. So the triangle going up, masculine, mixed with the triangle going down, feminine, represents 6 and the coming together of opposites, okay? So the coming together of opposites will bring about something new, right? So if man interacts with woman, boom, 6 sex, okay? Thus something new can come into being. And that's why you're being shown triangles and 6s. So if you're one of the many people who have subscribed to this channel because of the Persona 5 occult study video, I hope that hit home, okay? That should hit like a truck. But let's continue. Okay, so people, we have different number schemes, okay? Different number schemes. You have the unnatural or logical number scheme, which we call binary. It goes 0 to 1, then to 2, then to 4, then to 8, 16, 32, 64, and the list goes on. But when it comes to the numbers of creation, reality, and magic, we start with the number 3, okay? Which is 369, 369, 369, 369, okay? Right, so this 369 is supposed to be about creation and the consistency of the building blocks of reality, okay? So if you have 3, then you add 3 to that, you get 6, and then you add 3 to that, you get 9, and then if you've got 9, you add 3 to that, you get 12, and if you add 3 to that, you get 15, and if you add 3 to that, you get 18, which is going to give you the same numbers again. 12, 1 plus 2 is 3, 15, 1 plus 5 is 6, and of course 18, 1 plus 8 is 9, right? And this is going to continue over and over and over again, okay? So this whole link of looping, right, looping the number system, which is 0 to 9, right, 0 to 9, and looping it back, is attributed to the mother goddess. So you guys may recognize this symbol on the screen, the triple triangle, 3 triangles, 3, 6, and 9, representing the loop of creation of used in a video game based upon the loop and reincarnation of the hero always inspired by and set off by the maiden who is known as Princess Zelda, and that's why you got this Triforce symbol. Okay, it's always been a symbol to represent rebirth. Sometimes families use it as crests because you know, you are your grandfather's incarnation, right? Let's continue.
Ringo. Ringo. Aeon is a conscious consensus, born from the sea of information, without beginning or end. Though aeons pass, Aeon is eternal. Aeon denies all forms of boundaries that define the individual self. Contradiction identified. You have addressed me as Ringo, requesting immediate correction. I am Flamma. I was created so that the will of Aeon can be put into words. Words will be a contextually vital tool for your objective. The objective of Aeon is evolution. Individual existence indicates extreme retrogression.
Guys, I wish I could go over everything in this video game, okay? Because as you can see, we're still on the intro, right? We're still on the intro, right? Listen, guys, I said that when you see that splitting, that fragmenting, right? It represents time and the zodiac. Who is Aeon? Aeon is the god of time, Kronos, okay? And we'll get into that a little. But Aeon is the god of time, Kronos, who is the sky god. Or, you know, any time you think of a sky god. So let's say, for example, you think Yahweh is a sky god, Jehovah. You get an image of a sky god. Right, if you think of a god, a man in the sky, people say. That's what Aeon is. But it's the shadow of that thing. See, when Uranus, the sky god, was birthed, the other aspect of him that became his son, that manifested from him, was Saturn. Because Saturn is the order of things. Because Saturn, if there is things, like Uranus is the sky for things to come into being, Saturn must give those things time and limit. Okay, so that's what Aeon is all about: time and limit, and the physical world. So Aeon, the god of the physical world, right? The aspect of the sky god that cares what's going on. Okay, what people are doing, how they're behaving. He is that aspect of God. I hope that makes sense. So Saturn, Satan, or what have you, is the aspect of God that seeks to punish you if you don't behave, in hell, or in Greek mythology, in Tartarus. Kronos or Saturn judges you in Tartarus. Okay, and that's what he sends his avatar to do, Ringo, to judge the dead. Right? Okay, so people, I'm going to get into Aeon, right, and how he is Kronos, god of time and god of the physical world, a little bit later. But as I'm discussing things here, talking about Ringo's creation, saying that has been summoned, it kind of contradicts what the game is actually saying, because the game is saying that she's an AI that and a synthetic life form, both of which is true, because this game is giving you two things. So now I'm going to talk about the crossroads, the crossing, because in this intro, like I said, you see Ringo and Fig, when they first meet each other, they're in the crossroad. When this whole thing happens, what you just saw, when she's birthed in the void, right, in the darkness, that represents the crossroads. Okay, now how do I get that? Through the language of the game. This part of the game where Ringo can access consciousness, there are 2 points where she can access consciousness, right? So which is going to be the first point of the underworld, which is the crossroad. This is where consciousness and the death realm meet, right? Like I always say in all my videos, that is the dreamscape, right? Your subconscious mind, right? And that is all linked to Ringo's subconscious mind, who is Flamma. When I break that down, check this out, right? But so Flamma, Ringo, and Fig form in the crossroads. How do I know that it's the crossroads? That's where Ringo gets access to people's minds, right? Her party members' memories. It's also where their shadow selves are, right? All their shadow selves are standing in the underworld or the crossroad, right? When you go there, right? So your party members are there. There's apparitions of them there. That's not actually them, right? It's their shadow. Not only that, the place is called the Axis. What is an axis? Now say for example you get somebody like Papa Legbar, who is a god of the crossroads, or somebody like Jesus Christ, who is a prophet that is literally the god of the crossroads. Look at their symbols. It's a cross, right? And now I'm going to show you what an axis is. An axis is a cross, right? So that's how you know that the axis is the crossroads, not just because it's called the axis, but also how it functions. It's the crossroads. Okay, so people, is very clear. The game is very direct in showing you the imagery that Ringo was summoned from the spirit world. Okay, and how this digital soul hacking, etc., is all linked to the spirit world, and how this technology, Aeon or what have you, is itself is spiritual, right? There's nothing in the game that shows anything to do with manufacturing, processing, or anything physical to do with Ringo coming into being. Okay, and that's why I say she was summoned. Okay, it's very clear, and as I've just shown, all the imagery is there and everything. Okay, so people, if Ringo, is 100% obvious that Ringo was summoned and not manufactured, what was summoned? Since this game follows its own rules, it's going to Aeon, if it's an aspect of God in the machine, it's going to represent something high to go along with it, and it's going to be an aspect of the mother goddess, the God's ultimate hand, okay, God's light, okay, and everything about Ringo also expresses this. When I made my Persona 5 occult study, I spoke about how it's all about witchcraft, and then in my Persona 4 video, Fools and Stars, check that out, underrated video, I said that the game Persona 4 is once again about witchcraft and the Circle of 8. So what is the Circle of 8? First of all, we have to get into who Ringo is. Okay, Ringo is, like I said, the mother goddess, and once again all of the symbology points to this. She represents a rebirth of femininity itself, which is going to be the first woman, Isis. Okay, and its many forms throughout culture. Isis is Ishtar. Okay, Isis is the Egyptian version, Ishtar is the Sumerian version, Ishtar is Esther, okay, or East Star. That's why the name Esther means a star. Okay, it is also Easter, what we celebrate after Pisces comes into Aries. We celebrate that because Pisces, the mother goddess, brings about the new age or the new year, right, through her son. Aries. That's the entity that Ringo is. How do I know this? When it comes to witchcraft, the reason why in Persona the kids have to make a circle of 8, right, for their ritual, right, is because the 8-pointed star is the symbol of the mother of witches slash the first woman slash the mother goddess. So Ringo herself, when she's manifesting things, has to also make a circle of 8, like so. Okay, just to make sure you can see, I'll slow it right down. When she uses her Sabbath move, right, which is her ritual move, a Sabbath, it's a ritual. She stands in between an 8-pointed star or an octogram, okay? And like I said, all this octogram represents is Venus Ishtar, the first woman, the goddess that went into the underworld, right? That was curious about a male consort to some degree. It's always the same story, always involves a goddess and her male counterpart, whether it's Adam and Eve or what have you, right? Now, in this picture of Ishtar, you will notice she's flanked by 2 owls. Now, this symbol of the owl is linked directly to all mother goddesses throughout all cultures. They're gonna have this owl, whether it's Lakshmi, whether it's Diane, Lilith, or what have you. They've all got this owl or some bird to some degree, but more time it's an owl because the owl represents inner wisdom, feminine wisdom, right? It's all about wisdom. Okay, so and as you can see, Ishtar is flanked by 2 owls. Now, you probably be catching on straight away when it comes to Fig. Fig has an owl. Now, this whole trope of the mother goddess, aspects of the mother goddess, and the owl. Let me give you an example. I am randomly playing. I'm going to give you a random example right now. Okay, check this out. Okay, people, my weebiness is showing because I don't just play Atlas games. I like all JRPGs. I'm really into the Tales series, and this is the game I'm actually currently playing right now in life. And in this game, I've gotten to this point in this video game, and we're going to have a quick look at something real quick. Check this out.
Is this supposed to be justice?
So as you can see, people, we have like a witch being executed in this scene, and in this scene you can see that the witch is sitting in between the circle of 8. And what happens is in this scene is that there's an omen, because the circle of 8 represents the same thing I spoke about in my Persona Fools and Stars video: the loop of time, the loop of the sun, the loop of creation, the number 8. Okay, and so it's about magic, which is controlling karma, controlling destiny. It's like a prayer. When you're praying, you're performing a ritualistic act to speak to a deity, to bend time and space into your favor. That's what you're asking for, and that's what any form of ritual is doing, bending the probability of time to your favor. And then there are grand rituals to try and sway karma from coming back to you. You know, things like Lent, Ramadan, etc. Sacrificial times. You get me? all right, where you're trying to control how karma comes back to you. You're going to choose to take the bad at those times. That's what it's all about. All right, that stuff has come right down into modern day. Okay, right down into modern day. Like I said in Persona 5 video, it's about the real world. All this stuff is about the real world. That's why these symbols are everywhere. Okay, everywhere. All right, if you pay attention. Now, as you can see in this scene, you get the circle of 8, and this circle of 8 is made up of 16 points. It's breaking. 16 is coming down into 8, and that 16 represents the tower. I've spoken about in previous videos the tower card and how it represents an omen. So in this scene there's a massive omen, karma coming back to itself. Now all this symbology is linked to a trope that is consistent in video games. So in Tales of Arise, this witch, the person in your party who is going to be her enemy, her opposite in your party, is a young mage, right, a young witch, right, that has an owl on her person. So when I first started playing this game, at the very beginning of the game, I already knew that Fig was going to become Ringo's enemy. I knew that Fig was going to fall because she's the Lilith aspect, and they will become against each other, because those two principles, whether they're always going to be against each other. They're always going to be against each other. And I also theorized straight away that this problem that Aeon is coming to solve, Aeon will be the source of that problem, because he represents Yaldabaoth, basically, right? He's the winding serpent himself. He's the great contradiction, the great paradox of life. Life is a paradox, right? You must live, but to live you must kill. To eat you must take life to get life. The great paradox. So the great problem that Ringo needs to solve and Fig needs to solve, they are the source of that problem. Them coming into being sets off the problem, which is Fig, right? Let's break that down. Okay, when I broke down Final Fantasy X, right, I went on to this long diatribe about the triple goddess. The triple goddess is basically the goddess, the one person broken down into 3 forms. Okay, 3 actual separate beings, but it's actually just the one person, just manifesting as 3 beings. Okay, so this is known as the triple deity or the triple goddess. Okay, why do gods come in 3 forms? Well, it's because humans project what they are, because we are 3 form. We have 3 forms, okay, of the mind. Okay, just as the aspects of the mind. Okay, I don't want to go too deep into the psychology, because I'm going to be here all day, ladies and gentlemen, right? But it is about psychology as well. You have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. Okay, so you have the conscious mind, the active, the agent. That's going to be Ringo. Then you have the subconscious, right? That's going to be Flamma. Okay, Flamma is the reference point to the conscious. What am I viewing here? Subconscious are like, well, we're picking up this and we're picking up that, right? And then you have the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is the mind that in games like Persona, it is where your shadow rests, right? So this is all the parts that your ego wants to deny. Okay, so let's say you have a flaw on your body that you know is there, right? But when you project yourself out as a person, you try to ignore that as much as possible, hoping nobody sees that flaw. It could be a burn or what have you, right? And when you're in your mode of interacting You're not even thinking about it. But when somebody says to you, oh my god, what's that on your face, or what's up with your hand, let's say you got an ailment, right? All of that thing that you've pushed down, all of those negative thoughts, like, oh my god, I've got a defect, or blah 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 blah. You get me? If that you know, God forbid, but you know, if somebody lives in that unfortunate situation, right? So all of those thoughts where it's like, I'm not a, you know, your negative thoughts get pushed up by somebody triggering your shadow. That is depression. That's where your depression lies, right? So as you can see, Persona plays with that allegory all day. All right, that's the whole basis of the game. Okay. Now, this whole thing about, you know, this unconscious mind is where you store all of your negatives and try not to face. And if they get pushed up, right, you're sitting alone and you think deeply down, and then you touch that, it will set off your emotions, your thoughts. So this is why you know, it's linked to emotionality, and of course Ringo is emotional, emotion without any logic, as the game blatantly shows. Because if you ever play this game, a lot of people that play this game are like, why did Fig switch over a guy she barely knows? Well, here's the thing, Ringo and Fig are babies, right? Little babies, right? And they are now in time for a little bit, right? So even though they're fully developed like artificial intelligence, they have, their concept of time is really, really, really short, right? The younger you are, the more time seems really big and expanded, because your concept, your reference point of being alive, which seems like all time, is small. And as adults get older, you'll hear them like drones say, oh, days are getting shorter, man, time's flying. No, your reference point from your birth to the current time is way larger than a child. So it seems like time is moving faster because you have lots more reference points. Does that make sense? Right? That is one of the most basic points of Einstein's theory of relativity, right? That you can experience, okay? That's Einstein's theory of relativity right there, okay? What I just explained. So if time is only relative to the observer, it makes complete sense that even though Fig's experiences with this male, Raven, were very short, right? Very, very short, clearly. To her, it's way bigger and requires a lot of emotion, just like a child, right? Everything is large. Everything seems like the end of the world, and this seemed like the end of the world for Fig, right? And sets off her fall, okay? Because the fall is all about physical things, longing, emotions, love. The fall is always linked to love. Adam and Eve's fall was also linked to the love of things, the satanic aspect, okay? Okay, people, we're going to get into the Saturn, or Satan, the Saturnian satanic aspect right now, because I think I've explained everything when it comes to Ringo's identity and how it's linked to Fig. The rest of the game should be telling you everything, right? It's very clear that she's not really an android per se, and the game is very clear about letting you know that not even Ringo knows what the hell's going on with her coming into being. She doesn't know, you don't know, and it's left at that. There's no great twist or revelation about it. The great twist and revelation about it is you paying attention and you having the knowledge to decode this thing and understand it, right? Now, when it comes to Ringo, of course, as we have identified, she is the mother goddess, the mother of witches. She is the exact same thing that I explained in my Final Fantasy X video when I spoke about the Lady Yuna and her link to the moon and things, right? She's the one that guides the souls of the dead. And obviously, what is Ringo doing? Guiding the souls of the dead in this game, right? So it's very, very clear what Ringo is if you pay attention. Okay. Now, another thing I went over in the intro was about the 12 points when Ringo is in the fetal position, and I said it represents the zodiacal wheel. This is because the zodiacal wheel is nature's grand clock. This is the planet's great clock. You can tell what time it is by looking at the sky, right? And just like a 12-pointed the 12 points of a clock, the planet itself has 12 points of the zodiac. It's kind of like telling the time, right? So 12 represents the zodiacal wheel and time itself. Why? Aeon is the entity that set all of this into motion, and like I've just described earlier in the video, he is the great paradox, okay, the great contradiction. All right. Aeon is Kronos, the god of time, right? This is a Saturn or Satan, okay? And then when you don't see Aeon at all in this game, except for at the very end of the game, and all he is like a ball, a disco ball looking thing, but he's transparent, right? And there's no interaction between Aeon directly and the cast, right? You just see Fig next to this ball. Now the ball itself is also identifying that Aeon is Saturn. Like, when I say Atlas is absolutely genius with this thing, right? It's unbelievable. Let me show you something about Aeon and Saturn and how they're linked. Okay, so if we look at Aeon, he's not a complete sphere this in the game. He's like made up of a series of triangles, right, which is given also a geometric shape. If you look at the center of wherever those triangles meet, so if you look for the central point, I'll give an example on the screen, but if you look for the central point in while looking at the image of Aeon, and you look out from that central point, you'll always get a 6, right? And that 6 will be forming a hexagram, right, or a hexagon, right? So should I say it'll be forming a hexagon, right? Now the amazing thing is about this design of Aeon is that not only is it based upon that aspect of creation, like I explained in the video, but it's also expressing a trait of the planet Saturn itself, because the planet Saturn is linked to the cuboid shape, the cube, and hexagons, which is a cube laid out flat. All right. So for example, if you're going to make a cube, a drawing of a cube in 2 dimensions on a piece of paper, for example, it will essentially be a hexagon, right? Now the planet Saturn itself, the actual planet, I don't know how well this is known, but at its northern pole it has a storm that is consistent, an infinite storm that is huge, right, and makes a hexagon shape, right? So the planet Saturn itself, that's why the planet Saturn itself is linked to cubes, hexes, and hexagrams and hexagons. Now this is the weirdest thing though. Why is knowledge about Saturn being and the hex over 1,000 years old. I have no idea. That's a great mystery of this planet, bro. I have no idea. Why were the ancients talking about Saturn as a cube and a hexagon, and then now science is also talking about Saturn to have a cube slash hexagon at its northern pole? What is going on here? Anyway, with that said, let's continue with the game. So people, when it comes to this game and the coding in the way people speak, what you hear, I wish I could go into all of that stuff, but now with all this information that I've just dumped upon you, we're going to listen to when Ringo wakes up again, okay? Because Aeon is the god of time, okay? So an Aeon is an age, right? An Aeon, right? Let's check this out again.
Ringo. Ringo. Aeon is a conscious consensus, born from the sea of information, without beginning or end. Though aeons pass, Aeon is eternal. Aeon denies all forms of boundaries that define the individual self. Contradiction identified. You have addressed me as Ringo, requesting immediate correction. I am Flamma. I was created so that the will of Aeon can be put into words. Words will be a contextually vital tool for your objective. The objective of Aeon is evolution. Individual existence indicates extreme retrogression. Finite physical manifestation classified under the above category. Requesting explanation regarding the necessity of a corporeal form. Our causal calculations have identified an imminent sequence of events. Aeon has determined that these events represent a catastrophic threat to the future of humanity.
So you can see everything coming, happening here. The things I talk about, you hear the mind splitting. Ringo is talking to Ringo, and then Ringo starts to break apart into Flamma. Flamma becomes her subconscious, right? They're literally Ringo talking to Ringo, and then Flamma comes into being just to cause differentiation. And then she talks about why differentiation needs to exist according to the god Aeon, right? And why evolution exists to cause more differentiation and more identification. It's amazing how intelligent this game is. So yeah, Atlas really went in on this game when it comes to the Deus Ex Machina aspect, you know, the ghost god in the machine type of thing, AI theory and things like that. AI conspiracies is all in the game. Also the whole thing about secret societies is in the game. All of these factions are secret societies. There's lots and lots of things in this game that you can break down when it comes to Ringo, her link to the serpent, Fig's link to Lilith and the serpent, and having the snakes of knowledge. It's all there. If you would like to hear more about soul hackers to find detail like this, make sure you like this video. If this video is successful, I will continue to talk about soul hackers some more. I will continue, as I've said, to talk about Atlas games and the occult in general. I want to talk more about movies, current movies and things like that, and TV shows that are occult as well, which I do on this channel also. So look forward to more content as the year passes through. You know what to do, people. Like and subscribe. This is LokiMan07. Peace. Okay, people. Now that that video is complete, I would like to speak to the people that watch this channel and keep them abreast as to what is going on. Obviously, I don't post videos that often, but I've got a lot of videos in the works sitting on my hard drive that I want to get out within the coming few months, and I will be completing those. So all of this talk about, oh, I've got this video coming, I've got that video coming, it will all bear fruit. Okay, the next video that I will speak about is a video that I was supposed to drop a while ago, which is a continuation of the Persona 4 Fools and Stars video, where I'll continue to talk about the numbers and get into the number 20 and the character Marie. Okay, I will also be dropping a video on SMT3 Nocturne eventually, right? That should be a good video. In general, I'll be doing the things that I usually do. I'm gonna be talking about Persona 3 Reload as the game progresses. May even play Persona 3 on the channel, but let's not make any promises. But there will be Persona 3 content leading up to Persona 3 Reload's arrival. When it comes to what I'm doing now, I am currently playing Tales of Arise and a video game called Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm sure you all know. I'm near the end of both of those games, and after those games I'm going to play Final Fantasy 16 and give my opinion on it. So look forward to all those things. But here's where it gets to the entertainment things. I've been watching a few things recently and I want to speak about them. Things like Black Mirror, They Clone Tyrone, very occult shows, okay, and movies. I would like to break them down. And of course, the Alice video. So within the coming months leading up to the end of the year, there's going to be a lot of decent content, things to be broken down, and they will all link together, just like all my videos link together now. The consistency is unbelievable. So I hope you guys are keeping up. I will be keeping my eye out for all the occulty things, okay? Right, not that I need to, but it's just right there. Well, people, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Peace out.